Welcome to the Giving Town podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Roberts, and my goal is to share stories of hope and generosity in our wonderful community of Newburgh. Today, I'm interviewing Emily Garrick Steenson, marketing and events specialist with A Family Place. They're an organization mostly known for providing diapers to families in need, but they do so much more to support families in our community, far beyond physical needs. So I'm so excited to bring this as the first episode to you after rebranding from our previous name of the Elpies Project. And this podcast is also now being sponsored by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group. We are licensed brokers here in town with Premier Property Group, LLC. And I'm just so grateful to be in this community. I'm honored for the opportunity to serve this community and highlight so many of the amazing people and organizations here. I really think you all are going to really find a lot of value from this podcast. So on that note, here is my conversation with Emily. Well, Emily, thank you so much for joining me today. I've been wanting to do an interview with The Family Place for a long time now, and so I'm really excited, especially with being the first episode as we've transitioned from the Elpies Project to the Giving Town. So I'm really excited about this. And thank you for setting up the time and letting me tour the facility here and see what you guys do. So A Family Place is one of those places that for me really touches my heart because I've got 1-year-old and 3-year-old and really know how much even the smallest stressors can really affect the dynamic, and how much, if you lose your temper or something, how much that really affects kids. So can you talk about briefly just what A Family Place is from your side of things and how it helps people?
Sure. So A Family Place is a therapeutic relief nursery. We have been in Yamhill County for almost 10 years, which is really exciting. But the model is not new to us. There's been a relief nursery in the state of Oregon for almost 40 years, which is really exciting. Okay. The model started in the Eugene area, and then it's based off of research and data that came out of the Boston area called the Perry Preschool Project. That was actually something that started in the 1960s. So A Family Place at its core, we work to keep children safe and families together. We work with the highest risk families in Yamhill County, risk of abuse and neglect, to try to get them the support they need at the earliest possible time. So we work with families from birth to age 5 because it is really important to do early intervention. It's before the school age when a lot of other services are available. And it's really the prime time for brain development. When your child is born, their brain development is around 40 to 50%. And then by the time the child is 5, 80% of their brain connectivity is formed. That is a huge leap. Yeah. So your 3-year-old is, more than halfway there. Your 3-year-old has got neural pathways that will be with them for the rest of their life. So your love and your support, your good mental health practices are going to set them up for success. And children who are not set up for success and do not develop properly are more likely to go into the foster care system, juvenile hall, into jail, deal with substance abuse issues, become criminally active, and on and so forth. Right. So if you really take just your heart and soul out of the equation, if we can get to kids early on and really impact their brain development and their outward trajectory, we will save the county and the state millions of dollars in subsequent costs of foster care, of juvenile hall, of jails, of theft, the justice system. So if you can intercept kids now, that trajectory is very, very different. They become people that give back to our society instead of cause issues in our society. Yeah. So we started about almost 10 years ago, and it was just a group of concerned citizens. We worked with local law enforcement, pediatricians, education specialists, and found the best possible model to bring to Yamhill County. And we started in McMinnville and quickly expanded to Newburgh and thanks to the generosity of our community, have really grown by leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. And we're really proud to have served thousands of children across Yamhill County that are doing well and safe with their families at this moment because of our amazing donors. I love your new podcast name because this is a great example of this community giving back. We started with a great idea, and we are where we are today because people have volunteered their time, given financially, introduced us to others who can give financially, and have really changed thousands of lives here in Yamhill County for the better, which will make all of our lives better.
Yeah. Well, and someone who everyone who knows about A Family Place probably knows about Brian Love and his family and granddaughter and the amazing work that they've done with the diaper drive. And that's, I think, what a lot of people think about. They think, oh, like diapers, like Family Place, they give diapers, which is a part of what you do. But talk about the strategy behind using the diapers.
So diapers are our front door. When somebody comes in for free diapers, maybe if they've got a baby or two at home and they're struggling financially, they're, and I'm using air quotes here, just fine. They just need some diapers. But when you see the same mom or father or grandmother or whoever, week after week, getting the free diapers, you start making connections with them and you start earning their trust. So our staff and our volunteers are really highly trained to say, hey, it seems like you're coming in for diapers every week. What else? What else do you need? Can we bring diapers to your home? Causing another conversation. Can we bring food, or can we bring clothing to your home? What else do you need? Let us tell you about our free preschool program. Let us tell you about our home visiting program that can help people. So I love this example. Right before I started, I was volunteering, and a colleague of mine said that she had been in the nursery or in the diaper bank. And this mom came in, and about the third week, she just started crying as she was given the diapers. And the wonderful staff member was like, what's going on? What's wrong? She's like, well, I have a baby and she doesn't like me. Okay, how does your 3-month-old not like you? Tell us more about that. Yeah. Well, she doesn't smile at me. She smiles at other people, but she doesn't like me. She doesn't smile at me. We said, well, let's talk more. So we sent a home visitor to her house the same day, and she started talking to her. This mom had come out of the foster care system herself. She didn't have a big community around her. She was doing this on her own with her former foster sister. They both had kids. They were trying to work and manage childcare, and this was an unplanned pregnancy. And they said, well, show me what you do when you interact. She said, do you smile at your baby? Well, I guess so. I don't know. She doesn't like me, and I'm so stressed, and we don't have enough food. And she said, you know what? Just fake it till you make it. Smile at your baby. And we taught her some songs she had never sung to her baby. We gave her some basic toys and more diapers and wipes and tried to relieve that stress. Yeah. Well, she called, I think 2 days later, in tears. She smiled at me. She likes me. She didn't have anybody in her life that said, you know how you get your baby to smile at you? You smile at them. Yeah. Because they mirror you. That's how babies learn speech patterns and sounds and emotions. They mirror what's going on around them. So that simple change and that simple connection helped that mom to learn a new skill. And then when the baby was old enough, she was enrolled in our preschool. That mom is amazing. That baby's probably, I don't know, a first grader now. They're doing successfully. She graduated from our program to Head Start because we got mom the mental health she needed, and the kiddo is in a really solid place and doing really healthy because we were able to intervene so very early. Yeah. So diapers are so important to our program because it's the gateway to the other things we do. When you give somebody free diapers and free wipes week after week, eventually you can be in the situation where you can say, did you know we have free counseling or mental health services? You can't say that to somebody on the street. That's not going to go well. But if you can create those relationships and really get people to trust you, you can really enfold them into the suite of programs that we do.
We'll talk about why diapers are so attractive to people, especially struggling families.
Diapers are expensive. Do you know your monthly budget? How much you spend on diapers with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old?
It's about probably $80.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, diapers are incredibly expensive. So imagine if you're on food stamps, which don't pay for diapers, and you're getting boxes from the local food bank, which does not include diapers, and your rent is going up because, as we all know, it's incredibly hard to live in this county. It's getting more and more expensive, and the cost of food is going up, and the cost of, feminine hygiene products and things like that. Diapers are intensely expensive. People tend to get gifts when babies are newborns, and then after that, so that's why size 5, 6, and pull-ups are so important, because nobody's gifting those, and it literally changes a kid's health outcomes if they're sitting in their own waste or not. So it's really
you shared a stat a while ago about what happens when families are struggling because they don't have a budget for more. So what do?
One family that we've actually heard this a lot, that families will ration down to 1 diaper per day, or they try to find something else that'll work in a pinch. And we found a stat recently saying that 1 out of 3 families struggle with diaper costs. So that's a lot of people. Yeah. That's a lot of it. I remember when I had my daughter, and we had budgeted for daycare and taking off time, and diapers just caught us off guard of how expensive they were. So people that are already living and struggling with the monthly bills to pay, when you don't have a new diaper, your kid spends all day in 1 diaper, so you can ration it. It's either that or they go without, which is also not healthy. Yeah.
Well, and I can only imagine the shame that goes along with that when, I mean, you've got probably diaper rash, and they're complaining, and
And then you don't leave the house. If you don't have enough diapers, you don't leave the house. You don't go to daycare. A lot of the daycares, you have to bring your own diapers, and so if people can barely afford the daycare, but then they can't afford the diapers, that's something. They're less likely to do enrichment things like take the kids to story time at the library or the park or other things if they're struggling with diaper need. They don't go out of the house.
Talk about some of the other things that the whole strategy of a family place and work with families. It's not just financial. You guys do quite a bit. So what are some of the things people are experiencing that utilize a family place?
So a lot of our folks struggle financially, but not everyone. We've had clients across the gamut. When someone is enrolled in our program, they go through a risk factor screening. So financial need is one of those risks, but that is not the only one. We have folks in our program who grew up in the foster care system themselves, experienced child abuse or neglect themselves. That puts them at risk and puts them more into the heavier, more intensive parts of our program. We have moms who have escaped domestic violence. That is something that, years back we had a family, and our home visitor was like, "Are you sure this address is correct? It's in a very nice neighborhood in a very nice hilled area. Are you sure I'm supposed to go there?" Yeah. Because that mom is living with her parents, and she escaped incredibly bad domestic violence, and they need our program. So we will serve anyone. It's not just financial need. I think that's what sets us apart from like a program like Head Start. Head Start is wonderful, and we graduate our kids into that program, but the kids that come to our program are struggling with social and emotional help because either they've been through trauma, or there's generational trauma in their family. They're struggling with getting basic needs, food, diapers. We've had homeless families in our program that we help seek housing and seek a stable home environment. Then we've also had people who can afford it financially, but they grew up in such a way. I'm thinking of a family that we just sent their youngest to kindergarten. It was really exciting. And both mom and dad grew up in a very unstable home with a lot of violence. Mom was a foster kid. They would joke of like, we don't know what healthy parenting looks like. Is that like Full House, TV show? Is that where you learn what a healthy parent is? We didn't have that growing up. And knowing that we give them free parent education, Their kids can come to the relief nursery 2 times a week to get that day off and get that time to really work on themselves, attend appointments, have a rest, go to AA groups, go to therapy themselves, work, whatever the case may be. And, they're always supported by our team. When COVID hit this particular family who was doing okay, they'd both been working, both were laid off. They were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We instantly got them set up with housing services of Yamhill County to make sure their rent would be covered, that they wouldn't lose their apartment. We got them set up with local food banks where we were delivering the food boxes. And then we called them parking lot visits, where we would stand on the other side of the parking lot and talk to them about what they were doing and how it was going, so we could do that safety check. Mm-hmm. And I would hate to think maybe they would have been fine without us, but I don't think so. I think that our staff, day one, being there, talking to them about what's going on, getting them linked up with services, having a phone call every few days, having those parking lot meetings once a week, gave them an anchor to hold on to where they weren't just stuck at home, terrified what's going on, looking at their bank account dwindling, going into default, not sure where to get food. I really think we made a difference in that family and all of our enrolled families, so they didn't have that additional stress that the pandemic brought for so many of us.
Yeah. I think of raising our kids, and we have a very energetic 3-year-old, and my wife and we love reading. My wife was a preschool teacher for a few years, and she's all about the education. Mm-hmm. And so we have a lot of knowledge, but it's still so hard.
It is.
And it's hard not to lose your temper. And you see when you do one of these, you snap and, raise your voice, and how that affects the kids. And so I imagine when kids are experiencing this all the time, how that affects their brain development. And so I'm curious how, when someone has had a past of abuse, or they have a past of being in the foster care system, they don't know what it means to have real parents. How are you able to, because you're not with them all the time, so how are you able to make such an impact?
So you can see when the kids come into class whether they're safe at home or not. You can tell by the way that they interact with other kids, or they interact with themselves. We also have home visits, so if the kid is enrolled in our program or in our outreach program, we go to their home and work with these families. We require that all of our parents do several courses of parent education per year, so they participate in small groups with their peers and then an instructor on parenting education skills. And we watch, we check in, you change diapers, you change clothes, you see what is going on in that household. We're really lucky in the case that our families are voluntarily enrolled in our program. This is not a court mandated program. These are parents that want to do better. When parents are young and busy and budgets are tight, having that extra set of hands to help, and you can build that trust, they will open up and tell you what they need. We are lucky, we're under the Lutheran Community Services umbrella, so we're able to refer them to other parts of our agency, our mental health clinic, our immigration program, so that we can fully support that family. And then we work really hard with, Yamhill County Housing Services and food banks to make sure that every service possible is for that family. We're 95% successful, but there is that 5% that we've had to refer to Child and Family Services. We're mandatory reporters, and we will refer a family if there's something unsafe going on in the home. And unfortunately, our teachers have had to make those calls, and unfortunately more than usual during the pandemic. Yeah. But for the most part, if you can keep your eyes on and ears on those kiddos and offer the parent support at every single turn, people are most likely. Parents want what's best for their children. You want what's best for your kiddos. Yeah. I want what's best for my kiddos, even though they're a bit older now. We want what is best. And I think that 99% of parents want what is best. And I think a lot of the abuse and neglect that happens in our community is that parents are overwhelmed with the stress of life. You know, we have jobs, we have homes, we have roofs over our head. We're very privileged in the way that we live. The people that don't start with that support from outside family members, don't have the education we have, if they can get that support from somewhere else, they are more likely to succeed in this world. We just have to keep trying and keep supporting those families because they want it. Like I said, 99% of parents want what is best. They're not malicious. They didn't have kids to mistreat them. It's just the stress of life. And parenting is just hard. You know, I had my children with, you know, grandparents close by and wonderful siblings and friends, and I still had incredibly rough days that I'm like, wow, I really messed that one up. I need to do better tomorrow. So not having that safety net of a community around you is incredibly hard. So if we can create that outside of the family model, it's very successful.
What do you think, and you may or may not have an answer for this, but I think there's a lot of common themes that are really difficult for parents. And I think many people, even in, you know, relatively healthy situations, still struggle with parenting. Are there certain common themes that you feel that come up again, like, hey, here's some things to do differently, here's ways to interact? Do you feel like there's common threads that come up?
I think economics is going to be a thread. Anytime, you know, basic needs are not met, that adds incredibly amount of stress. I think unaddressed mental health needs are a common thread. That's something that we've really been able to work on the stigma in the last 10 years. It used to be when you recommended a parent have mental health therapy, they're like, oh, that's for crazy people. I don't need that. I think that stigma has really changed in the last 10 years. And the fact that we have parents enrolled in this program and then also enrolled in therapy at the same time is incredibly helpful. I think substance abuse, again, the low economics, high economics, it doesn't matter. Substance abuse in the home causes a lot of stress. So if we can get parents the substance abuse counseling or treatment that they need, that is incredibly helpful. We've worked with a lot of families where one or both of the parents, in finding out they were pregnant, were like, oh gosh, okay, I gotta get sober now. That's really hard to do. And it's really hard to do when you're pregnant or your spouse is expecting. So if we can, again, wrap our arms around that family at a very early age, get them the support, their sobriety rates just skyrocket. That's much more likely if you have support that is also sober. So introducing them to other parts of the community, but really checking in with people. We have some other programs in Lutheran that have peer support counselors, people that have also been sober for many years or come from that, you know, lost a kid to foster care and then gotten them back after they cleaned themselves up and got on their feet. So when you can have those peer supports in place, it's much more successful than someone like myself who I've never dealt with substance abuse. So I'm not going to speak the same way. I don't have the same kind of gained trust. But someone who has lived that life and gotten sober and gotten kids back and gotten on their feet and can really talk about it person to person, I think that's incredibly successful and really helps us gain trust and gain support amongst that that family. And anytime you can add that element of I've been there, we understand, we don't come from a place of judgment and of we know better. We come from a place of, just like you said, parenting is really hard. You know, I had all the benefits of family and friends, and I struggled sometimes. I understand where you're coming from. And then someone else can say, you know, and I went through it this way and had to get sober during my pregnancy, or all of those things. Anytime we can find someone that can really talk to them at their level, you're going to have a much, much higher success rate. And so that's why we try to, all of our language is going to be strengths-based language. We don't say we fight abuse and neglect on our website. We say we work with families going through the hardest times in their lives who want the best for their kids to make the best possible outcome. So that's what we do. I don't remember your question. I think I might have gotten off track.
Yeah, no, I just think a lot of, like you mentioned, parenting is hard and we all need that kind of help, that circle of support. And I guess that's one thing, is having a support system. But I guess there's certain ways we interact, or we try, our kids doing something maybe we don't understand developmentally, that's just how they are at that age. At 2 and 3 is going to be hard. And
our home visitors really concentrate on a lot of those developmental milestones and supporting people through those.
Yeah.
Kids who've been through trauma, maybe they saw something really scary when they were 1. At 3, they might not be developing the same way because their brain was traumatized. When your brain is developing between birth and age 5, right? That we've got a lot of growth in there, and a lot of things can get delayed if there's trauma at play. The neural pathways aren't as strong. You can get it back if you intervene really, really early, but they might be delayed. So a lot of the work our home care worker or our home visitors do is talking to people about those milestones, where they are, and then intervening if need be. We work with, I'm an education district, to bring in speech therapists and occupational therapists. We will refer clients and make sure they get to, and sometimes get a volunteer to drive them to, specialty visits if needed. We've got specialists on our staff that do specialized therapy and play therapy for kids that need it. So really getting in there and educating the parents about, your kid's doing fine, but they're going to do X, Y, and Z, or, oh gosh, we're 2 and we're not talking at all. Okay, let's see how we can intervene early. And they come into our classroom and they come into their homes in a safe environment, and do that work with them. Again, early intervention is key. If we send a kindergartner to school and they're not talking at all, and the teacher day 1 is like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it's too late, but it's very late in the process. But if we can find that at age 18 months and refer them, the success rates are going to be 1,000,000 times better.
Yeah. Talk too about the classroom and how kids experience something different there than they might experience in other places.
So our classrooms are therapeutic classrooms. They're specially made. You won't see a ton of bright colors. Everything is very low to the ground for the kids, and all of the adults interacting with the kids are also going to be low to the ground. We're always trying to make things as safe feeling as possible. When kids feel safe, their brains grow better. We spend a lot of time outside. We're really lucky. Some of our donors have donated warm coats and rain gear so we can go outside, rain or shine. We have plants in the classroom and a lot of natural materials because that helps aid, again, brain stimulation and brain growth. We have really high ratios. So in a normal classroom, say there's 10 kids, you'll have at least 4 to 5 adults, which seems like a lot. The normal preschool, you might have 8 kids per 1 adult. But for ours, we're helping kids who have been through really adverse experiences. So if a kid is having a really rough time, we want them to be able to spend one-on-one time with the teacher and do some pretty intense play therapy work. So half those people in the classroom are volunteers. The volunteers are going to gather up, 4 or 5 other kids and go read a book on the other side of the room, or go outside while the kid is having that meltdown or tantrum, or maybe they've, are talking about something for the first time. And really have that one-on-one time with the teacher, so we can split into those smaller groups and then have, a really, really low ratio. We have phenomenal staff. Our staff are amazing. I think they are just the true heroes. And then we have fantastic volunteers. We could not run this program without the volunteer support in this community.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that's amazing too is it's not just about learning numbers and letters and colors and that kind of thing, but it's something that I think a lot of people don't experience, is here's what emotional regulation looks like. Yeah.
And that's most of the work we do. When you go into the classroom, you don't see numbers or letters on the wall. You see charts of kids. that are labeled happy, angry, sad, nervous, scared, and the different facial expressions. So you can really talk to them. Anytime a kid is frustrated or angry or have an outburst, the first question is, wow, how does your body feel right now? How are you feeling right now? Let's look at the chart. Point to the one. Are you scared? Are you angry? Are you nervous? Are you hungry? And it's always about social emotional regulation from day one. That is what we do. If a kid gets to 4.5 years old and they're doing great, we graduate them to Head Start and they go learn their letters and their numbers and they get ready for kindergarten. But we never want to send a kid to kindergarten who cannot regulate their social emotional health, regulate their body. We've seen a lot in the last few years of kids going into schools and being unsafe. When my son was in first grade, he was attacked by this adorable blonde-haired, big blue eyes, chubby-cheeked boy, looked like a freaking cherub. That kid was attacking kids on a weekly, if not daily basis, because he was experiencing violence at home and he didn't know what was going on, and he was acting out in the only way he knew how. And so had that family been enrolled in our program earlier and he had gotten skills and perhaps we had been able to help mom seek safety, which is something we've done quite a few times, is help parents seek safety, that kid wouldn't have been attacking kids in my kid's first grade classroom.
Yeah.
I think that it's never too late to help a child, but I truly believe when you do it early on, you have the biggest chance for success. So that's another reason I work here, is I truly believe that really early intervention model, and especially with gaining social and emotional skills in our classrooms, will benefit all of our schools and all of our community in the long run. Because when a kid learns to regulate, that's a skill for life. Yes, you need to know your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s, but
who cares if you can't emotionally regulate?
But if you're taking that big, capital A block and hitting your friend over the head with it, that's not helpful.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I think is so important about this, because then those kids get labeled as bad kids. They see themselves as bad kids, and it just gets worse. And
there's no first grader that thought, today's the day I'm going to choose violence. Yeah. No, that first grader is seeing some scary stuff at home. And that first grader is seeing scary stuff on a daily basis if that is the way that they are acting. There is no way that that kid is just watching Blue's Clues and thinking it's fun to be violent. So if we can do early intervention and really wrap around that family and get as much intensive care early, it's just going to be better for all of us.
Yeah, I think that's totally, that's huge. I watched the video. Was it Will in Geneva?
Yes.
That talks about that on your guys' website, and I'll share that in the notes here.
Yeah.
But that it's hard for me to watch anything or talk about this without tearing up. So I actually did really good during this interview. Got my tears out earlier. But yeah, just I'd encourage anyone listening to this, do more research, look into this, because our kids are the future of our society, and they deserve the best that they can be given, and a family place is such a great resource. So please reach out. And what are ways that people can get involved? And whether that's just, maybe that might be sharing this podcast, maybe that might be volunteering. What are those specific ways that you guys ask for?
So there's a lot of ways to support the work we do. We cannot do this work without volunteers. There's a lot of different ways to volunteer. You can host a diaper drive. Nobody can do it as well as Buy Love. We don't expect you to raise 60,000 diapers, and we don't have the storage for it, so please. But we've had kids as young as 5 years old decide to get diapers for their birthday and donate them to a family place. It's a wonderful way to kind of show your kids you're doing well in the community and have them really identify it, especially if you have an older sibling and you have babies at home in diapers. They really get that. You can volunteer at our diaper banks, and the way to do that is every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. we hand out free diapers, and we start building those relationships with those families through those free diapers. And we just ask that you pick one Thursday a month for a couple hours and you come out and hand out diapers with us. There's the clothing closet too. You can donate seasonal size 2 to size 5 clothes. We have a lot of itty bitty baby stuff, so we're not accepting that right now. But we do have a wonderful relationship with Pitter Patter in downtown Newburgh, where when your kids outgrow stuff and you want to donate it to us, and we have very limited storage. If we can't take it and donate at the time, you can donate it to Pitter Patter, and they will sell it on our account, so we can buy the sizes or the classroom items that we actually need, which is really cool.
Oh.
So Pitter Patter was, they were consigning a triple stroller the other day, and we're like, oh, we need that. If we have 2 triple strollers, we can take small groups to the park.
Yeah.
So we bought it on credit because people had donated clothing and they sold it.
So donate to Pitter Patter, not to Goodwill. Sorry,
yes.
Goodwill.
So that is a great way to support us. And then also volunteering in our classrooms. Like I said, our volunteers are highly trained. It is a commitment. We want people to say every Tuesday morning, every Monday morning, pick one day a week, but come in consistently, because the kids need consistency and they need to know that that adult is going to be there every week for them. It's so rewarding. My now 16-year-old daughter has done it for the last 3 summers, and it has changed the way that she looks at the world and looks at life. She now wants to be a child psychologist because she sees the need, and she really loves working at that age group. If you're newly retired or you work for yourself and you can do, 1 morning a week, that's all we ask. But you come in, you read with the kids, you help make lunch, you eat, tater tots and applesauce, but you just help be that consistent presence in their life. So it's a little more of a commitment. And then we also have various committees. The events committee, where you work on the fundraisers, is a really fun way to get involved. You work with me and some other great folks in the community to run our fundraisers. There's, marketing, where you help us overlook our marketing program as well as our expansion work. And then our leadership council. We also have an advisory council where we ask professionals in the field to come advise us on the programs that we use. So we have a speech therapist from Newburgh Elementary School is on that, and so she helps with that transition from our program to kindergarten. And then financially donate. That's a really big thing. Like I said, we have really low ratios in our classroom. We have, really intense programming. It takes money to run this program. So you can be a monthly donor and give as little as $10 a month, but it adds up. It really helps. You can be in, give during an event or host a table or encourage your friends, or even just sharing our social media posts. So when people, sometimes we'll do a specific ask, like, okay, we've got this mom and she's left a violent home and she's moved up here from California. She needs a house or not house. That would be great. She needs a couch and a blender and a coffee table. We organize that sometimes. Sometimes we are organizing diaper drives or just getting the word out about events. So following us on social media and sharing those posts is incredibly helpful as well.
Okay.
Oh, you can also host a giving tree around Christmas. So Pitter Patter in Newburgh has done it in the last year, and then the Chamber of Commerce and trying to think, Newburgh Family Chiropractic. They've also held giving trees for us, which is really helpful.
Okay. And then really quick, because I know we're running out of time here, but what are some projects or some news coming up? I know you.
So right now we are in the middle of financing our Newburgh expansion. When we first started almost 10 years ago, we had 2 classrooms in McMinnville and plans to expand in Newburgh. Thanks to the Joyful Lutheran Church here in Newburgh, we were able to expand right away, but it's not a full classroom. It's about a 75% size classroom, and we have quite a large waiting list. I think I couldn't tell you how long it is at this moment, but I know we have quite a few families that would love to have their kids in the classroom. We're also down Villa in a very lovely neighborhood with very nice houses, which is not where our clients are. The school district at Newburgh Schools has been willing to lease us 2 portable classrooms that need quite a bit of construction work to repair them. But they want to lease us them for, I think it's 30 years or something, the lease, at a very, very low rate, because they understand the value of our program. of early intervention. So right now we are fundraising. We thought we had reached that finish line, but I don't know if you know, but COVID has increased the cost of everything, especially construction.
Yeah.
So we find ourselves about $500,000 short of where we thought we needed to be. So we're finishing up that fundraising right now. We have some asked out to some generous agencies and community groups for funding. So we hope to get there. But if you want to donate towards that campaign, we really could use it right now. And then once we have that funded, we'll need help setting it up, moving, and then we will have quite twice the classroom space.
Wow.
So we will need additional volunteers to help run those classrooms.
Yeah. Just kind of curious, what happens if a family, they need help, but they're on a waiting list? What happens
So today we weren't able to record this in the classroom because we have our outreach respite care. So the families that are on our waiting list, they meet once a week or once every other week, depending on their needs, with a home visitor that goes to their home and meets with them and helps them work on building goals and learning new skills. They're enrolled in our parent education program, which is either in person or online, depending on what the COVID virus is doing. And then they also get to come in once a month to our respite days. But we really would like to have them in more consistent classroom.
Yeah.
And I know that we have, 3 outreach workers with very full caseloads right now. And there, again, when you come into our program, there's an assessment where the highest risk people, the people with more risk, get in the classroom. And then the next group goes on outreach. And then after that, it's simply on a waiting list. So they can still enroll in parent education and get free diapers. But if they're not quite as high risk, but they have some, they're kind of in that waiting game.
Gotcha.
So that's why we really need additional classrooms.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Emily, so much. Please, if you're listening to this, share this podcast with someone who you think might want to get involved with a family place, or who might be able to volunteer, or consider volunteering and giving yourself. This is, I think, an extremely necessary and needed part of our community. And thank you again, Emily, for you. And thank you to all of the Family Place staff and volunteers for all the work that you do.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I hope you enjoyed learning about the amazing work a Family Place does. I've attached a link to their website, so please consider getting involved or reaching out to them. If you think more people should know about a Family Place, share this podcast on social media or text it to a friend. Also, as far as I understand, subscribing is a great way to let the little magic bots tell more people that they should listen to this podcast. So that's a great way to help out too. Again, this podcast is sponsored by my real estate team, the Joyful Roberts Group. And if you reach out, I would be happy to help you with any of your real estate needs. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.